So now we got the assembly and everything. There's going to be a few questions, especially for those of you that are the 3D printer types. Let's get into one thing. One is, how do I get the file that I can use to 3D print? Before we get into that, I'm going to show some cute little tricks here. Is that if you right click on a part body down here, is you can come in and you can change its properties, edit its appearance, and assign material. Well, edit the appearance. Let's make this like a black PLA color. So we'll go like that. And you don't have to be stuck at selecting only one to give it a color. You can come in and edit the appearance for two of the parts, and you can say, hey, I want them to be like this. And now everything will look, when you come into the belt, will look a little more realistic as far as what you would have if you built it. And you got something that's all kind of floppy and movable here. You just grab that and you can see I can move these pieces around as if it were free floating. It's pretty interesting when you play with this. It's the physical dynamics aren't in there. So imagine it just being in zero gravity and trying to sort things out, but you only have one way to grab onto it. So this is why moving some of these parts around can be kind of silly, and that's why you have this sort of strange look to the whole thing. The big reason why I'm making this a little extra video. So we've got these three parts, sort of the three main parts for the bracelet. You can come onto a body right here. You can click on it. You can right click and you can choose export. Now you can export as a parasolid as several different kinds of 3D files, but you'll notice that STL is here. Binary format seems to work well for me. Units, this one I prefer to have millimeters because that's what my system is generally on. And resolution, most of the stuff that I've done is fairly small, so we don't really have that many triangles. So I always like to make it a nice fine resolution so we get make it nice and clean. Now, one of the last things you can do here is you can click on here and you can download it. You can download and store the file in a new tab, or just store the file in a new tab. So I'm going to store the file in a new tab. I'd recommend you guys just do download. I'm doing the store in a new tab for a reason here. Is now you can see that the file has been not downloaded, it's been put into a new tab. But when you right click on this tab, now you can download it. So you don't have to recreate it each and every time. So we've got the treads, the large hole one. You can come in and we'll just repeat that same thing, as you can come in here and do an export right in this feature tree. But we can also come in here and select on the part. And again, you can export it here. And it'll keep all the settings that you had before. And I don't want to store it in a tab. We'll just say download. We'll go OK. One last time for this link. We'll say OK. And let's not forget the clasp. The clasp had a couple of parts in here. Now, you'll notice that when I changed the color back in here, because this is a derived part, the derived part is going to pull the color from over here. Most of the changes that I make into here are going to come over to this side. If I decide to change the fillets of this edge, it's going to follow through on this. How about I just show you how that's done? So let's come into treads. Now we use the large hole part, and let's just go to the first fillet that we did. We'll make one sort of ugly change here. We'll do 0.25 to make little tiny fillets. And it will look entirely different now. Let's come over to the clasp. Now that's updating, you'll notice that it brings in the new fillet diameter that we had before, or that we just updated. So if we make changes to the bodies on this side, it will make the changes in the derived part, which can be good or bad depending on how you look at things. I think it's good as long as you have it in your head that that's what's happening. Then surprises don't necessarily happen that much. There are other ways to get around this sort of thing if you didn't want that to happen, and that would be exporting as a parasolid file and then re-importing it into as a different part, and you'd still have the same geometry, but then it is no longer linked. Let's get back to the original reason why we were here. We're going to export this as an STL. Export this as an STL. Now this is something that I was just about to do. So you can see that this part was selected. Now I didn't deselect it, and now we can see that both these parts are selected, and I right click on this and I say export. you'll notice that it will export both those bodies, and I don't necessarily want that to happen. So you can double click in this area, or you can hit the spacebar to deselect things. Then you can right click and choose export. And now we got that one part. So it all depends. You can export the entire thing as one STL, but then you have to deal with all the files. And just to finish off, we'll open up Simplify 3D. And you can see the other parts that I had brought in from before. We're just going to remove everything from the last print that I did. I'm going to import. And we've got these files from downloads that we just brought in. And you can see everything came in just the way you'd expect it to. Now, I'm not going to go into the tutorials on the orientation of all these parts and how to duplicate them, but you can see that what we've done is we've started from scratch. We didn't have a Onshape account. We created the account. We got a tour of the interface. We learned how to build parts. We learned how to build quick an assembly, and we have an entire finished bracelet and tool. So hopefully that's helped you out, and I hope you'll stick around for some of the other videos and stuff that I'm going to produce and bring out, and let me know what you think about this stuff. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up below. Make sure you subscribe if you see this on YouTube, and don't forget to go to learnonshape.com and sign up for my newsletter, and I'll make sure that any of the new videos that come out that you will be one of the first people to get a notification that they're out, and you can go in there and start watching. Happy CADing! Please give me a thumbs up below if you like this video, and leave any comments or questions you have below as well.